Aloha, everyone. This is Tamara Mackay, back again this Thursday, October 19th, for another episode of Red Time Stories. And here I'm bringing on our co host, Dan Turner. And he also is with Akamai Wealth Management. And we're here to kind of give our opinions and our insight of things that are going on in the world and to expose corruption and anything else that we feel is important for everyone in the community um, to hear about and bring news and local items to you from Hawaii to DC. So, how are you doing today, Mr. Turner?
I'm just as fine as frog hair. Thank you for asking.
Awesome.
And I hope
Awesome.
you're all well.
Oh yeah, hanging in there. Every day is a story, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, with everything that's going on in the world. Last week we touched on the Speaker of the House, and the big news was, oh, Donald Trump for Speaker of the House, and it doesn't seem to be the case now. The hot news is Jim Jordan.
Mhm.
What's your thoughts about that? I have a little news clip that came out about 6 hours ago. I didn't have a chance to hear, but I thought it would be worth sharing. But before we do that, what do you think about what's going on with the Speaker of the House issue?
Jim Jordan is an outstanding person, first and foremost. And I think there is no better job for him than Bulldog of the House Judiciary Committee. He's fantastic and no nonsense. And that's something that we haven't seen in quite some time. The problem, if you want to call it that, is I don't think Jim really wants that job. And
Mhm.
it's kind of like nobody else wants it either. And the rhinos are like anybody but Trump and anybody but Jordan. Now, keep in mind, just because you have a letter in front of your name does not mean you subscribe to that political persuasion. It just means that you're projecting an image that may or may not be true. And scripture tells us how we're supposed to measure people in that regard. And it is not wrong to measure people. You discern, you judge them by the fruit they bear. If you run for political office with an R in front of your name, when you get in office, the fruit of that will tell us who you are. In this case, the Rhino faction, which means Republican in name only, is actually the Democrat faction of the Republican Party. They are not Republicans, they are Democrats. When you vote with Democrats on issues from the Republican perspective, your you lose your integrity of being a Republican. You cannot be considered reliable. So when you have a majority of the Republicans in the Republican Party voting against Jordan and voting with the Democrats, one has a very hard time in conscience saying, yeah, those are Republicans, because they're not. They're not
Mhm.
proving any kind of. And who else is running? I mean, are there any other viable candidates for this?
Yeah, I don't think so. That's why I was looking at the his press conference that he had, and I mean, isn't he more effective in his attacking the corruption and the investigative role that he's been playing? And he seems to be. So, would we lose or gain
He's
with
like,
him being the Speaker of the
well,
House?
exactly. He's like a bulldog with a pork chop. He is
Hmm.
not going to let go of that stuff. And that's why he's in the House Judiciary. I think he's far more effective there than he is in the House. However, if the greater call is for him to lead the House, he will be a bulldog over all of those jurisdictions, not just the House
Hmm.
Judiciary Committee. So I can see a great expansion of his abilities, and you start putting uh, the necessary soldiers underneath him to execute these things, and we have enough of those, we could really make some dynamic changes and accomplish things that are loggerheaded right now.
Well,
But I see, yeah, it is a valid point that he's extremely efficient in the House Judiciary. I also think he would be more efficient in the House as a speaker, but you got to want it, and I don't think he wants it. I think he actually had a suggestion or a side vote that they reinstate Patrick McHenry, who was the original standby after McCarthy was exited. And I don't know if McHenry wants it. It's
Hmm.
like, how typical is this that once Republicans get into leadership, they don't know how to lead or they don't want to lead, or I just rather vote, just give me a cup of coffee and I'll just sit here and cast votes. I'm bewildered by it.
Yeah, I find it extremely frustrating, and it seems to be the theme that is going on nationwide. That we have this opportunity; people want to be led by the Republicans, but we have people who just don't want to lead, or they're causing chaos instead of unifying and working together. So it's causing, it's putting our country at risk. I definitely believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody needs to
What?
pull up their big girl and big boy panties
Yes.
and
Isn't that what we really want? I mean, here's what we would prefer to see, I believe, is
mhm.
16 to 20 Republicans fighting fist and nail to get to the speakership.
Yeah,
Let us show you our leadership. Let's show you the stable of racehorses that we have here that can win. And it's like, no, I don't know. I'm not. I don't know. I just rather go. I just, let me serve my 2 years. I'm gonna go home and split
I think it's
firewood.
crazy. I think that the courage, we're losing our courage that we were known for in America, and it's really sad. So I don't know. We have a lot of work to do from top to bottom of building our courage and building our base. I mean, everybody wants solutions, but their people are afraid to get in there and be part of the solution to the problem. And like I said, it's not just up there in DC. It's also locally. I see it here with our own party here in the state of Hawaii. So I
Mhm.
mean, but let me see if we could see this press conference of what he had to say. I'm pretty interested in that. Maybe there's some good news coming. So
Yeah, play it
bear with
away.
me. I'm just getting learning this screen share stuff.
Hang in there, folks. This
Hang in
might
there,
take us a
folks.
minute or
Yeah,
two.
let's see. I did it one time, so I believe it's this. Here we go. And do you see the Jim Jordan play video?
No, I know.
Hmm, let's see.
Oh, I just yous and me's.
Oh, here we
Oh,
go.
there you go. There you go.
All
Excellent.
right. So it's the remember to add to the stage. Add to the stage. All right. And bring that forward. Well, basically, that was short and sweet. He definitely wants to go talk to the other 20 people, as he just said in that. Were you able to see the full screen?
I could see the presentation. I didn't hear a word.
Okay. Well, he had said that he wants to go back and talk to the 20 people who weren't voting for him, and he wants to go for the Speaker of the House seat. So I apologize to everybody. I'll practice on
Well,
that and
that's
make sure it's better next time. Um,
Technology is far from perfect, but it looks pretty good on paper.
Yeah, right. So, um, so how about that when you were just saying that it didn't seem like he wanted it, but it sounds like he wants to go for it and talk to those 20 people who are not supporting his bid for the seat.
I was thinking about that dynamic earlier today. And if we remember back in the beginning of the year when McCarthy came in and they had 15 votes and they were just doing them one right after the other. And 3 or 4 or 5 days into this, finally they realized they were at loggerheads and they had to have a conversation with McCarthy, with Mr. Gates, and they hammered out an agreement. Unfortunately, Mr. McCarthy defaulted on his responsibilities and was shown the door. But the contrast that I see with this is it doesn't seem like we have anybody in particular other than the rhinos who are voting against Jordan. They're voting
Mhm.
for their uncle. Let me put my uncle in office rather than Jordan. And okay, you can do that. But if no one else is stepping up to do this, then it's incumbent upon those people who are voting against Jordan within the Republican ranks to make their positions known. Why aren't you voting? And what does it take to get your vote? Now, nobody wants to think that they're holding off the budget reconciliation for crying out loud
Mhm.
because of this. But on the other hand, whether we want to admit it or not, they're making sausage, and we don't want to see that.
Right.
So, in the process of this, there has to come a point where these people need to state their objections and what it's going to take for them to pinch their nose, swallow hard, and vote for Jordan or
Mhm.
come up with a better answer. But this is a vote, and we do have to take it. We don't have a speaker, and we can't proceed until we have one. And at least at the beginning of the year, when we had that situation with McCarthy, the Republicans who were voting against him made their positions known. They didn't gandy dance around or hold a hidden agenda. They put it out there. This is what we expect. We knew before they negotiated with McCarthy that they expected these certain topics to be addressed. We're not getting that from the rhinos. The rhinos got that from us, and therein lies the contradiction. Rules for thee, but not for me.
Mhm.
Rhinos got to go.
So if not him, who do you think would be good in that seat?
If not Jordan, I would pick any of the conservative caucus members. Even Lauren Boebert, she's like a freshman or second termer.
Mhm.
Matt Gaetz would be an outstanding candidate for that. Um, I would have lived with Steve Scalise, but candidly, I just think the guy needs to be fighting for his life rather than fighting for the House of Representative Speaker, because candidly, that's where his life is right now. But any of them would be great because, you're not governing alone as Speaker of the House. You're like the shepherd of a bunch of sheep that all have voices. I hate to put it in that vernacular, but candidly, you're not alone with this. There's plenty of people who will reach out and help you do this. So
I got a question today that when there's no Speaker of the House, who's running the House?
that's the problem. The House isn't running. They're not passing any legislation. They're not promoting any bills. There's no House hearings. There's nothing. It's a static point that the Congress cannot function without a speaker in the House.
Shouldn't the
So
leader of the
nobody,
majority be running it until
well,
a speaker is picked?
who's the leader? The
Right.
speaker.
Mhm.
So you're at a logjam. There's nothing you can do until you pick a speaker. And that
So mhm.
again is another reason why we're not a democracy. I know everybody refers to that with their sloppy English. We have to fight for our democracy. No, it's a republic. And it's things like this that separate a republic from a democracy. In a democracy, people would just figure somebody out and go ahead anyway, without
Mhm.
regard to the rule of law.
Well, it seems like we have more. like cooks in the kitchen, armchair quarterbacks, and chiefs that with not enough Indians, and yet they don't want to participate. And that's the only way that we can get ahead is if people start getting proactive and getting involved, especially with this next upcoming year of 2024, because it's pretty much like our last hurrah to save our democracy and our freedoms and our constitutional rights. I mean, every day that we speak, they're getting taken away, or hidden laws are being passed. I mean, it's happening here in the state of Hawaii, and
Yeah.
especially when it comes to our Second Amendment rights. So it's getting pretty scary when the good guys are getting their Second Amendment's right infringed upon, yet the criminals have more access. It's not, criminals are criminals; they don't follow the laws. And then we've got open borders. I think we're just so backwards right now, and it's pretty horrifying to see that with
Yeah.
sending money abroad instead of taking care of our own and fixing our borders and ensuring that America is safe. Um, I just The only way that we can do it, I mean, the more complacent and the more people sit back and argue amongst each other, we might as well just give them over the keys. Don't you agree?
Yeah, for the life of me, I can't understand how anybody is unaware of what's going on now.
Hmm.
What do you do with your day that you are so clueless about everything in local, county, state governance, certainly
Hmm.
federal? I mean, the idea that we've got people who don't even know who their congressman is, for
Hmm.
crying out loud. You, it's certainly your right to live in a bubble if that's what suits you, but you also have a moral and ethical imperative to be a citizen, to do what citizens need to do to maintain their freedom. And everybody loves the freedom, but with rights come responsibilities. You have a duty to defend freedom. And it is more than a one-way street. I think part of the problem we have in Hawaii is that people simply don't have the same assimilation to our Constitution that they have in the mainland. And I hate to say that, but that's entirely true. When you talk to people and they're just, well, I don't know. And it's like they're used to being told how to think and what to say and how to act, and that they don't think for themselves. And that is a huge problem in a republic because you're here to participate. The government doesn't work if you don't participate. And you end up with a democracy when you don't participate. But it's
I
hard to wake the dead.
Yeah. We also keep getting fooled. We have a lot of good actors that seem to be wanting to run for office, but they really don't have the good intent of representing the people. That's what I'm finding um, as a pattern with us
Yeah.
in quite a few states, and with my current involvement, I'm
Mhm.
seeing that people want to buy a seat. They're raising money to buy a future Senate seat. They don't put their money where their mouth is. They're all talk, no action. And but I see it on both sides of the aisle. And unfortunately,
Sure.
we need better
There's nobody
representation.
on our side of the
Really,
aisle.
yeah. Well, I just feel that some of I we need to see the people put their money where their mouth is and really be the voice of the people. um I had the privilege of spending a day, I think we talked about this before, with Representative Elijah Pyrick, and he
Yes.
is a very true-hearted individual. He believes in representing the people and being of service, and I
Mhm.
just feel that we can learn a lot from him and how he
Yes.
represents the people. And he just doesn't hear and listen to the people, the constituents of his area. He is available statewide.
Mhm. He's
Um,
transparent as vodka.
yeah. So it just how do we get encourage those people in to take the leadership position and really be the true voice? We we
Well,
we have to find those people like
it
you.
is historic. Well, don't tell my wife. Um, it is historic that politics is the final bastion of the incompetent,
Mm,
and that in other states, when people violate the law, we put them in prison. In Hawaii, we reelect them.
mm, yeah.
And that ends up being problematic because, again, as a state, 63 years of inbreeding with the Democrat Party. And we wonder why we have problems. And, we're all clubfoot, cleft palate, web finger inbred to the Democrat Party. We can't think for ourselves. And each generation, our IQ falls lower because we're not challenged into thinking or performing or even contemplating what would be the best thing for my family. There's this collectivist mentality that we have to cooperate with the state to protect the state. But no, we need to protect our families. And while Tip O'Neill may have said back in 83 that all politics is local, and I don't disagree with that, that doesn't seem to apply here.
Hmm.
Politics is nebulous in that whatever happens, happens. And people will just continue on that hamster wheel. I don't know what we do to change that. I really don't, because that involves, I thought that the combination of Governor Ige and Lieutenant Governor Mengele Green and their
Hmm.
reaction to ham-handed force of law against unconstitutional use of the law for COVID restrictions. And then recently, the utterly despicable way they handled the Maui Lahaina fires
Hmm.
would be the epiphany wake up call to people. But it doesn't appear to have had any effect. I mean, the people over on Maui right now, on your island, I think they're just essentially waiting them out. They're just going to withhold essential services until these people get frustrated and just move and give them what they want.
Yeah.
And that would be tragic.
It's
But on
already
the other
it's
hand,
already started. It's already started.
yeah,
Yeah. You would,
they're
yeah,
going
you
to
would,
take that land. They're simply
yeah.
going to take it away from them. And there's a lot of anger about that, but from somebody who's sitting on Oahu, and Maui is what, 3.5 islands, 2.5, 3 islands away from here. It's not like I can drive from Cleveland to Columbus, Ohio,
Mhm.
and participate in a march on the Capitol building. It's not like I can go there with, my weapons and fight back against the government physically. And unfortunately, that's what it takes. And I'm not the only one in this position. It's a small amount of people standing up against a state that has far more resources than they do. And I don't know what the gun ownership ratio is in Hawaii, but I do know the Second Amendment was created not so we could go duck hunting or bear hunting or deer
Right.
hunting. It was so we could protect ourselves from tyrannical
So,
government.
right.
And there's a disconnect mentally, there's a disconnect in society that, okay, we know we have the right to own guns, and that right is implied to control the government that tries to control us. And that when government fears us, liberty ensues. And when we fear government, tyranny ensues. But it's a graduating scale of use of force that is difficult to understand, because at what point are you escalating and how do you record that escalation? Because the government does something and you say, stop that. But they persist and you say, I said, stop. And they won't relent. And you write a letter to the editor and they won't relent. And so you go down to the Capitol and you don't relent. So you do something more drastic. At what point do you get to that issue of pulling out your weapons and shooting at them?
Hmm.
I don't mean brandishing weapons. The Second Amendment authorizes its citizens to shoot people in authority when they act like tyrants. Whether you want to accept that or not, that's the fact. But
Yeah.
getting there to that point is we don't know how to graduate that to the point where it's no longer committing assault on an elected official, it's overthrowing tyranny. And that's where the laws work against us, is that they have protected themselves from that overthrow.
Um, yeah, and then the topic has come up again about the law that was passed about the pushing through that cashless system. There's a couple stores already who won't take cash at all. Um, how do
What are
how
they?
huh?
What are their names? What are their names?
There's actually one on Oahu, and I'll find the other name later. I should have given bought that up. I just saw it in a share that somebody gave me in Telegram, and
We have
I just
to,
saw.
people, we have to boycott these. When they
Yeah,
pop up, we need to slap them to the floor. You cannot allow this. It's legal tender. They don't have the authority to turn it down.
and then that I noticed that Whole Foods was trying to do the scanner thing of the hands and so forth. So Um, though there's those stores at Amazon, that Bill, Bezos is implementing where it's like nothing. You just walk through the door and it scans you and there's an automatic account. People think it's convenient and fun, but it's moving us towards those 15-minute cities in a
Dangerous.
cashless society. Um,
But what is it when, you know, when they scan you and the profile it pulls up tells them that you go to church and that you are conservative in your voting or Democrat. I mean, who's in power controls that situation. Not that we would ever get that lucky, but
mhm.
uh, all of a sudden you walk in the store, they scan you and they identify you as undesirable. And security meets you 3 steps later and intercepts you and perp walks you out the door. You don't have the right to shop for food. That's where that ends up.
Yep,
It's only convenient when they agree with you.
right. Well, um, we're ending up in a dangerous place, and it's going to end up being too late where people are going to sit there and say, I should have, I could have, and what do we do now? And when it's the what do we do now, it's going to be too late. And then we're going to end up like, Mad Max times and fighting each other
Yeah.
for breadcrumbs and trying to find food that is healthy for us. Um, Speaking of healthy, let's go ahead and take a
And that's
quick break.
before it gets bad.
That's before it gets bad. So I'm going to go ahead and break for a second to hear from our fabulous sponsor, Be Nourish, the best products on
Oh,
the
be
planet.
nourished.
And when we come back, I kind of want to talk more about how Hillary and that pack wants to deprogram anybody who believes in Trump. Let's touch on that. But in the
Yeah.
moment, check out, let's hear from Be Nourished, the best honey on the planet.
Honey. It's one of the greatest gifts to man. With millions of wildflowers in every bottle, the nourishing power of honey is still yet to be fully discovered. Be Nourished Healing Products combines healing ingredients from around the planet to the purest honey from the island of Maui to bring magic to your taste buds. The best honey from the most beautiful place to nourish your body, mind, and soul. From our hearts to yours, be nourished.
Be Nourished at nourishedmaui.com. They are great supporters of the Liberty Arise media platform. Please check them out and don't forget to enter Liberty when you check out to get your 22% off. You will not regret it. They have great products and they are great supporters of the community as well as getting the truth out and supporting conservative views and patriot values. as we were talking a little bit ago, I just thought that that was quite a riot, that they're saying that anybody who believes in Trump needs to be deprogrammed, and they're trying to go after all of those people. I noticed, I don't know if you have Truth Social, but it looks like Biden and his crew joined Truth Social. What do you think about that?
I, I, I can't, you have to ask yourself, why would they do that? What were they thinking? And
Boredom.
the first, well, no, I think it's put out an alternative point of view. That's the only reason they would do it. I mean, you're walking into the enemy camp and setting up a site, and you're going to bring your gadflies with you and contest everything that is being spoken or posted on Truth Social. I think that's the only thing, is that right now, and for the since it started, it's been pretty friendly fire.
Mhm.
You run into an occasional bot who posts nonsense, but for the most part, we all agree with each other on Truth Social. But I
Mhm.
think that's going to start changing when you see people from the political left who are paid to argue. And that's hard for us to comprehend. We go post stuff on Truth Social for free, and we share stuff for free. Well, in DC, you have to pay people to do that. And they do. They set up false accounts and they never show their face. It's always some cartoon caricature or something like that. And they post nonsense with no intention of ever making a point, but just yelling, "You're racist," and moving on. But that's the only way they can contest. And it gives us a problem because in commonality there's an exchange of ideas. You
Mhm.
can call it a debate, but it's not a heated debate. It
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I guess that popped up and I went away and you
I did
so
not know what to do.
yeah. Oh, it was a great video. So um
Yeah, it was.
But we were talking about the Trump deranged syndrome and having us deprogrammed and
Well, the problem that it causes is that we go on there and dialogue between each other, and it's the iron sharpens iron. But when
Mhm.
you get interference from sources like Biden's campaign, they're not interested in our dialogue. They're interested in disrupting that dialogue, and we end up attacking them instead of conversing with our own. And it ends up being a waste of time. We lose traction that way. So I'm not happy about Biden being on Truth Social. And I can imagine they're going to take some pretty hefty punishment for their insolence and showing up on that. I
Mhm.
mean, it'd be like, why doesn't Trump open up an article or join Occupy Democrats, right?
Mhm.
Wouldn't that
You
be the
mean
same thing? Their
Biden,
political line?
right?
No. Well, no, why doesn't Trump? Biden puts himself on Trump's site. Why doesn't
Mhm.
Trump open up a campaign site on Biden's site, like Occupy Democrats?
Right, right. I think that
It'd
they're
be kind of
data
the same thing.
collecting.
That may be too. I never thought of that,
Yeah.
which is kind of surreptitious.
Yeah. Put
But
everybody on the
that's what
list of
we expect from
who's gonna go through their deprogramming camps first, right?
right. And I don't I can't understand why she would say something so brazen. I mean, you might think that, but how would you even imagine saying that in public?
Desperation.
Well, I think you hit something there.
Mhm.
You only say things like that when you're losing.
Mhm.
Why would you want to deprogram somebody who's insignificant, who means nothing? The only way they can win is if they deprogram us.
Yeah. Well, you know that they're trying really hard with all of these uh charges being brought up against Trump, because they think like, oh, they're don't want people to be deceived because they feel like if they can bring the more charges on them, it's going to bring doubt into people's minds. And
Mhm.
I don't
That is
know.
obviously backfired.
Yeah. However, they just keep trudging along. I mean, what do you think's going to come out of all this? It's
Uh,
never ending. It's
not a
brutal.
everything they do helps Trump. They don't want to admit that, but if you can't see that, you're blind as a bat. The fact is, with Letitia James, who I've affectionately nicknamed Litigious Jane, 80% of her case was tossed because of what a first year law student knows about the statute of limitations. How could you be so stupid as to
Mhm.
bring charges against a former president for things that expired and are no longer even contestable, let alone legitimate? And then the district court judge above this court slaps down, I don't know what his name is, but he looks like the goofy professor on uh, that Michael J. Fox movie about
Oh,
time machines, time
Doc,
travel.
Doc.
Ah, yeah, thank you. He looks like Doc, only that's
Uh-huh.
disrespectful to Doc. He looks like Doc on anorexia or something. But that judge has of his own volition said, we're going to fine you $250 million. We are destroying your businesses, we're destroying your trusts, we're putting you out of business, we're going to liquidate all of your assets and seize everything. And the judge above him said, no, you're not. No, you don't have the right to do that.
Mhm.
And he just simply overturned all of that just this week. At what point do from either the judge's perspective of having his decisions humiliate him, if I
Totally.
don't know, I don't think Democrats can be shamed. They have
No,
no
they
humility.
no. No, they don't.
It's impossible.
Well, they have no
But
soul.
well, I thought about this too because I lost my daughter to Ohio State University. I was thrilled when she made the decision to go there until they realized that they were just simply reaching into her brain and grabbing that lobe of intelligence and common sense and pulling it out of her ear and saying, oh, you won't need this anymore, and
Mm-hmm.
throwing it away and leaving her as a Democrat. I didn't raise her that way, but they changed her that way. They indoctrinated her to a different theocratic notion of how the world works. And I think to a great degree, part of that is called relativism. And relativism came from Protagoras, the sophist, back in the time of Plato. And Protagoras came up with the theory, or not the theory, but the doctrine of relativism. What my truth is true to me, but may not be true to you, and your truth is true to you, but may not be true to me. And therefore, let us abide our own truths, which means there is no truth. Everything is abstract. And Plato shot that down in like 30 seconds with, well, if that's true, then I simply dismiss you as nonsensical. And it was over with. Your entire theory is balderdash. But the problem with relativism without contest is that it allows you to operate without shame. Because if there is no absolute truth, then there is also no absolute wrong. And therefore, if I can never be wrong, there is no sting from rebuke. And that allows people to then carry forward with nonsensical notions because there's no way to check them.
Mm-hmm.
A lead pipe or a baseball bat. But in there lies that problem is that if you can't be shamed, you'll make nonsensical arguments and stand by them.
Oh yeah. It's happening. Like I said earlier, I
You
see
see
it
it every day.
happening. Yeah, it happens in our own party. There are
Mhm.
people who are being involved, but they have no shame. No matter how many times people vote them down, they don't care, yet they still go behind the scenes to destroy other people or attempt to destroy other people.
Mhm.
Um, and one of the things I find, I mean, and it's all by design. I think that people have infiltrated all sides of the spectrum, from churches to the party, to cause doubt in each other,
Yeah.
because you're starting to see a lot of people. I know from my experience, and it really bothers me, people who are using the church, they're using God, they're using their faith in Jesus, and I have to pray and see what God says, and then they turn around and they do the most awful things, and that causes distrust in human, in the religious
Mhm.
um realm, that we that goes against our principles, or what we're supposed to believe in, and we're starting to question ourselves because people, or we're questioning our faith in humankind because they're manipulating and misusing, our the foundation of what is the core of our values of this country,
Mhm.
Constitution and Christian beliefs and faith in God. And
Objectivism.
yeah, and so it's very disturbing, and it can be very draining and exhausting. So,
Mhm.
but we
Yeah.
kind of got to keep encouraging those of us, the that are, we just got to keep going and encourage each other who are true fighters to keep going. And sometimes it's more challenging. That's why we need more people to get involved who are angry. And you mentioned, like in Maui, they should be more angry. And I'm surprised that we haven't gotten more people who want to join the Republican Party, and take advantage of the situation where we're starting over with the Republican Party and use it as a platform to fight back. It's just such a huge opportunity. And it's like, come
They
on,
don't
let's,
realize it's political.
yeah, they don't
They
want to
just
believe
simply
it's
don't get
political, but it is so political. They have politicized it to the umpteenth degree, you know? It's
they've
political and
they've
it's
politicized
financial.
it to the point of fascism.
Oh yeah.
It is
And
fascism.
And it's very disturbing and very sad. If these people were truly leaders of the people, then the people would be their number one priority to be fixing, especially over here on Maui and Lahaina, with all of the people who have become homeless and lost their homes and lost their family members, lost their children. That should be number one priority right now in the state of Hawaii.
Yeah.
And instead of spending billions, irresponsibly, um, they can afford to drop the, I mean, we are, our when Governor Sununu came over, he New Hampshire isn't much, the population isn't much bigger than the state of Hawaii, and they get one third of the budget that we have. And he also told us that the legislators over there only get paid $100 a year. They're true servants in New
Hmm.
Hampshire. And so
It's $65,000 a year here for a Congress seat.
I think they just gave themselves a raise. But
Yeah.
yeah, and so if yeah, I mean, I understand the cost of living is high, but if you're running for an office to be a servant of the people, then be a true servant of the people and take care of the people
Right.
first. It's beyond, it's beyond boggling right now, where they're setting money aside for ridiculous items that can be put on hold if the legislative body got together and focus all of their budgets, even countywide,
Hmm.
to rebuilding. There's organizations, such as Elon Musk, and I know that there's a couple companies out there that have a product that could clean up the toxicity of the properties that are out there in a short amount of time, so that those people can get in there. And while they're gathering themselves, there's companies like what Elon Musk has, which is Boxables, which is cost effective units that are about 400 square feet, but they come with cellular, uh, solar panels. I mean, it's all incumbent. They're lightweight. They could be shipped over here for a minimal cost, so that people can at least try and get their lives back. So,
Yes, exactly. And because they're portable,
yes.
the the beauty of that is that you set that up on your property, rebuild your home, and then sell that to somebody else. You can
Mhm.
redeem it, use that for security for a mortgage or anything else. You
Well, and they
already
make
own the
perfect
property.
ohana's, they're all
Yeah, exactly. Well,
self-contained,
there's
and
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there's
So,
already enough housing problems in Hawaii without, the law they passed a few years ago that forbid Ohana homes did not do anybody any favors except for
mhm.
the hospitality hotel motel timeshare people. That was a great deal for them. Everything that they've done helped big business, didn't do anything for the mom and pops in this state.
Right. To try and displace families out of the hotels so that they can open it up for tourism, I think is extremely rude and irresponsible, to say the least. I mean, that's an understatement in itself.
Mhm.
Why hasn't Governor Green made an executive proclamation to use the military or hospital ships to help accommodate if necessary? There's different solutions.
There's all kinds of
Mhm,
solutions. I don't know, from a legislative point of view, why hasn't somebody addressed the insurance companies who owe these people claims? They
mhm,
had homeowners insurance that covered fire, wind. They had business insurance that covered fire and wind and theft and everything. And
mhm.
why aren't the insurance companies paying to put these homes back together?
Right. Um,
I can tell you, as a mortgage
well,
broker, when,
we all know it's a selfish corporate hidden agenda,
yeah,
and it's part of the land grab as well, you know. So, I
yeah,
mean,
they're waiting them out.
Yeah. Here in Hawaii, again, we go back to, I mean, we just can't let this topic disappear either.
Yes,
$700 doesn't even pay for a room to rent here in
right.
on Maui. Right now, I checked on the Maui marketplace, and a bedroom right now going for rent is $1,600 to rent a bedroom.
A bedroom. I know that. I've done that. I've actually done, I was spending 1,200 a month for a room. I had a general refrigerator. But who's our state legislator? He's a PhD,
Gene Ward.
Ward. There you go.
Mhm.
Yes, Gene, the dancing Kelly Ward, um, is okay with funding Ukraine,
Mhm.
but he's not okay with funding Hawaiians. I don't even know where to begin with that.
Well,
He made a
he went
statement.
out of his way to try and get,
Nothing to say.
yeah. He did try to go out of his way to go get the, internet, from Elon Musk for people when their power was down. Just
To help
saying.
restore it.
Yeah, so
To help
people had
restore it.
access. I'm being a little bit facetious because, I mean,
Yeah. Oh
billions
yeah,
of
like
dollars that
internet.
go
Yeah.
to Ukraine, versus internet and an internet
Right.
provider from Starlink, um,
Hmm.
there's a
Yeah,
big
that was
difference.
important. Not as important as having a roof over your head. Not as
Right.
important as they could have paid off everybody's mortgages. I mean, there's all kinds of things that could have happened but didn't, because the only reason you can support Ukraine over your own native Hawaiians is because you have a dog in the Ukraine fight and you don't think you have a dog in the Hawaiian fight.
Mhm. Again, it
But
goes back to the
why
thing
are
of,
why are you even in the state legislature if you're not acting on that?
well, yeah, it goes back to what I was saying. People are going in for office for not the reasons that they try and sell you. Oh, don't worry, when I get in office, I'm going to take care of you. But they don't. They take care of themselves. We have people who are preparing for the seat right
Mhm.
now who claim that they either inherited money or they're self-made millionaires and they're trying to buy Senate seats. We need to watch out for that. And they just are there for photo ops to catch the votes. And those are the people that we really need to fight against again, because
Mhm.
it's going to be more of the same thing.
More of the
It's
same.
their own self-serving situations that we're never going to get rid of. And so it's again, it's not about parties. It's more about people and whose heads that they can step on to get higher up the mountain, which is really
Uh,
sad.
See if Elijah Perrick has any brothers or sisters.
I'd have to, yeah, I'd have to see that, but,
Well, they-
but there's but you here, Dan, you can go in there and help join the team, help fight
yeah.
the fight,
I-
get you in
yes,
that seat. Tell your wife she should
there will
run
come a
too,
day.
huh?
Yeah, well, if she does, she'll be chasing me with a baseball bat. But that no, the that day will come, just not now.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'll keep asking you every week. I might have to get your wife
that's
on the
okay.
show. Yeah, we might have to get your wife on the show
Well,
too.
she's in Cleveland right now. She'll be back late October, early November, I'm hoping, wrapping up some family affairs. But
Oh, so when she comes
um,
back, you could say, "Oh, honey, guess what I did?"
yeah, guess what? Surprise!
Ta-da!
You're on candid
Right,
camera.
right.
So,
So, but, let's touch up before we close for the day, just a
yeah.
little bit about an update
Oh
about
my.
Israel. Yeah, time flies
Yes.
when you're having fun. I
It sure.
definitely don't
Yes.
wanna, end without mentioning Israel and,
Mhm.
there's people who have their opinions on both sides of what's going on over there, but what the most important thing right now is that there are a lot of innocent lives that are being affected, and we do have some people
Yep.
that we know that are over there right now in the middle of the heat
Yes.
trying to
Yes, we
get
do.
back. And,
Hmm.
just a shout out for Tarita Tahatu, who is normally with
Hmm.
us on many of our shows. She's over there right now, so we're looking forward to her coming back safely and sharing her insight about her experiences over there in Israel, because she's in the heat of the moment. But we
Hmm.
don't want to forget that there are innocent lives that are being victim to this fight that's going on over there between Israel and Hamas and everything else. What are some of your thoughts on that as well, Ben?
Well, I'm happy to say Israel did not uh, lambaste a hospital with a missile.
Mm-hmm.
Hamas did that, and
Mm-hmm.
that in Hebrew, the word Hamas, I understand, means violence. So that should tell you something. And that in the government of Israel has given Hamas, or given the people of Palestine and the Gaza Strip, all kinds of resources, concrete, building materials. They used the concrete to make underground tunnels. It was given to them to build homes and foundations of homes, and they used it to build underground tunnels. They gave them water pipe. There's no sanitary water in Gaza. The Israeli government gave them miles and miles of steel pipes so that they could develop water lines and water purification systems. They used it to make missiles and bombs.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that this is some kind of an apartheid relationship, no, it's not. Israel is not an apartheid nation. They're dealing with people whose charter specifically states they will not stop until every single Jew is dead.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point. Hamas and Hezbollah are two organizations with the stated charter purpose of killing all the Jews. And until we grasp the gravity of that, it's never going to get better. And it can only change when we start destroying the destroyers.
Do you think that there's hope for recovery over there, or are we, as what it says in Revelations, at the end of our days?
Maybe both. I never discount that. I'm hoping that we're raptured before any of that happens. That the rapture will happen first. So if everything happens, we're either not qualified to be raptured or it's not the event we think it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of your test trial. Are we still here? If yes,
So far, so far, so good. Well, again, another great week, another great show. I'm, of course, we'll see you next Thursday, and hopefully Tarita can join us, and she
yes,
arrives home
fill
safely,
us in.
and fill us in on what's going on. I think it's really important to stay up to date, and it's also important that everyone pass out the word. Let's not forget about Maui. Let's not forget about those who have been affected by the fire here in Lahaina, and I hope to see you again every Thursday at 3 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time,
Yep.
9 o'clock Eastern Time. And just remember, everyone, the truth has no fear. Thank you for joining.